Hello everyone, I am your host Alejandro Colindres. Welcome to Series 1 of the podcast, The Road to Champagne, 13 tested principles to drive your career to success. This podcast series will benefit professionals that have room for growth in their career, especially young professionals. We will explore one principle at a time. You can see the framework in the website roadtochampagne.com. It has 3 parts: shape your mindset, build your brand, and be the driver. Today we continue part 3, Be the Driver, exploring principle number 11, build your village. Success doesn't just come because you are ready for it, based on your solid track record, amazing resume, strong brand, and bright smile. You need an effective level of power and influence, as we just saw in episode 10, plus a healthy and vibrant network inside and outside your organization. Relationships don't necessarily guarantee you'll get what you want, but they open the door so your message can be heard. There are 3 roles you play in networking: the person who has something, the person who needs something, and the connector. You will play each role in different times, and it is important that you use that dynamic not only to help you achieve your own goals, but to help others achieve their goals. The benefits of building a strong network include better access to information necessary to achieve your goal, increases your power and influence because you are associated with more powerful individuals in your field, provides a sounding board for ideas, provides a sense of security because you're confident you have access to the right individuals who will give you a hand if you ever need one, and more friendships. Who says all network relationships are business related? Good, we established that a good network has value and benefits. However, many don't make this a priority for several reasons. Maybe because they feel it's somewhat unnatural for them, especially true of introverts. It takes a lot of effort. They don't want to bother others, and they feel they will do it when it becomes necessary. These are all excuses. Okay, it's true. Building, maintaining, and expanding your network requires time and effort, but worth every minute invested. You should realize you already have a network. You are not starting from scratch. You have high school classmates, neighbors, college classmates, family, co-workers, friends, etc. But such network might not be robust enough to get you where you want to get. You must identify where you have gaps depending on where you want your career to take you. In other words, what type of contacts you need to know more of. Know what type of contacts would bring value to your career. If I want to become a management consultant, for example, I will need current and ex-consultants in my network, including partners who make hiring decisions. Assess how big a gap you have and create a plan to fill such gaps by getting the right introductions. Get creative and proactive on making those introductions happen. And very importantly, figure out what you will offer that is of interest to them. Not all will want to engage you if they smell a one-sided relationship. Of course, don't be too structured in your approach. Take advantage of new unexpected relationships and cultivate them. Unless you are a natural at building relationships, and most of us are not, it will take time and effort to build your network and to maintain it. To help me dive into this topic, I am very excited to be joined by Neeraj Khanna. Neeraj is a Senior Vice President of Strategic Programs at Wells Fargo. He studied economics and accounting at the Ohio Wesleyan University and obtained his MBA from Wharton and worked in leading consulting firms including Deloitte and Carney before joining the banking industry. He also serves on the board of the Echo Foundation in Charlotte, North Carolina. Neeraj is originally from India and has lived in 5 countries. In case you wondered, we met at Carney 2 decades ago. We have not seen each other since, but the beauty of building authentic relationships is we can contact each other after so much silence and the relationship continues as if we saw each other a month ago. However, we shouldn't let busyness get in the way. Neeraj, welcome to the Road to Champagne podcast. I'm very happy to have you here. How's it going?
Hi, Alejandro. It's great to see you after so many years, and it's wonderful to be connected with you and to be on this podcast.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, Neeraj. So this is a very relevant topic for everybody. Obviously, young professionals, but even more mature professionals. How easy is networking and building relationships for you, and how do you approach it?
Yeah, Alejandro, I think it's a very pertinent topic. So 2 questions, right? One is, how easy is it for me? And second is, how do I approach it? It started off being very difficult, right? I came to this country as a student, an undergraduate student, first time in the US. And it was all about obtaining the education and achieving the American dream. And at that stage, it was all about starting from scratch, right? Zero network, zero connections, and you're this bright-eyed little kid looking to make an impact. And so there, I would say it was very daunting.
For sure.
But in that time, I had to be very planful about it. I had the benefit of my professors and the career counselors that helped. But, over time, it has become easier. With experience, with doing it many times, it becomes easier, like with anything, right? Practice makes perfect.
Mm-hmm.
My approach to networking has also, I would say, ebbed and flowed a little bit. Earlier in my career, it was much more deliberate, planned, and much more objective focused. Now, and it's much more natural. I have a large network by the grace of God, and there is a lot to tap into very naturally because of, just having been in the industry and having done a lot of different things. But I would say the underlying approach needs to incorporate a few things: being genuine to yourself, being authentic to who you are, to being intellectually curious about the person and the people you're networking with, about researching who you're talking to and really trying to connect with them at their, meeting them where they are, and then really trying to find the intersection points, right? So that there is a connection. Without these things, in my mind, it is very difficult to have a fruitful networking conversation. You may have it, but it'll be very short-lived and it won't be fruitful.
I like your answer, Neeraj, because you're combining being authentic and really having an interest in the other person with being strategic. And I think I can relate to what you're saying in the sense that networking is not something that comes super naturally to me. I have to make a conscious effort. Since I'm not an extrovert, I'm a light introvert. Neeraj, can you share an example of how you achieved something you wanted with the help of your network?
I don't even know where to begin because I think there are so many things, and I'm very grateful for the network that I've had and the mentors and the coaches that I've had to be where I am and to have achieved what I have. I think every crossroads, every job change, every position promotion, I can attribute to networking and the network that I've had and the supporters that have surrounded me and the relationships that have been built. So there's a lot. And I think in your book, you mentioned the same thing, right? I remember reading in your book where every juncture of your career change was attributed to some kind of a networking relationship.
Yeah, I never, sent a resume to somebody's desk as a stranger and, they called me back and said, hey, we want to hire you.
Correct.
It has always been through somebody that I know that connects me with somebody that has a need for their team. Then we connect and then it becomes, a win-win proposal. But yes, to your point, I can relate to what you're saying. It's those relationships that help you get your foot in the door, present yourself if you are interviewing or seeking business or whatever you're trying to do. And that relationship, opens the door for you, right? It's up to you to figure out what happens after the door opens, but at least you get the door.
Absolutely, right? And I think many people sometimes confuse the networking concept with, trying to ask for favors. It has nothing to do with that. It is about opening doors. It is about giving access to an opportunity and then being evaluated on a very fair basis. So I think that's absolutely right. And I think the strength of your network, again, comes down to how authentic you are and how genuine you are to yourself. Because if you're faking it, it's going to come through and it's not going to be long lasting. So to go to an example, you asked give me an example of something that you achieved through networking. There are many examples, but the one that just happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks is I serve on a board here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the purpose of this not-for-profit foundation is to bring awareness to the next generation about creating a future built on human dignity, tolerance, and justice, right? So as you know, not-for-profits are built on raising money, raising funds so they can carry out their mission.
Yeah.
I have been in touch with a large network of my classmates from undergrad, from graduate school, from consulting. And without naming the person or the organization, I am very fortunate to be very close friends and have in my network a very senior executive from one of the largest tech firms in the world. And I've never reached out to him for any request. I've never asked him for anything. But this is such a near and dear cause to me. And again, it goes back to authenticity, right? I reached out to him and I said, so I contacted my friend to seek a partnership with the company that he leads and how they could support the foundation work that we are leading here in the Carolinas. And I am thrilled to say that, he put his head of philanthropy in touch with us, and we're exploring a very meaningful partnership. It's a very small foundation here in Charlotte, but this partnership could it could be a huge impact, make a huge impact to the communities we're looking to reach out to, and to make an impact to the younger generation here in the Charlotte area.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to have done this had I not kept in touch with this dear friend.
Thank you for sharing that story, Neeraj. And one thing that I want to repeat that you said earlier is that networking is not about favors. I look at it as supply and demand and coming to a win-win solution. So in your example, you're giving him the opportunity to do something that he wants to do. When you and I, have changed jobs and somebody has opened the door for us, nobody gave us the job as a favor. It's because we brought skills that the team there needed. Right. And we needed a growth opportunity. So it was win-win. It was good for both parties. I know that some people, shy away from networking. They think that they can achieve their goals by themselves. If you somehow involve other people in helping you get there, then you lose some of the credit or the merit. But I think that's the wrong way to look at it. You need those opportunities, and all you do is supply somebody's need for bringing talent into their team, and your need to grow in your career. So, it's not a favor that they're doing for you. It's a win-win solution.
I love that. I think it's a force multiplier, right? And I think you use this, no person is a village. You need to create your village. I think your success is exponential if you can leverage a network, right? And this is exactly what's happened in this case. And you're absolutely right. It's not about favors. It's about a win-win. And it's about knowing how to approach that as a win-win. Right? Knowing what the other person may need or want, or what their perspective is, and what you can bring to the table to help them. It should not be a unidirectional exchange. It should be a bidirectional exchange. And even if you feel you're very early in your career and you don't have anything to offer, I think you have to change your mindset. There's always something to offer, whether it is your perspective, your attitude, your unique experiences that only you have had. It is, you always have something to offer. So always have that sort of positive mindset. And it's amazing how those connections can form based on that.
Yeah, it could be as simple as an article that you think the other person would appreciate, right? So you can contribute even if you're young and your network is very small. So key relationships we need to grow effectively in the desired direction include mentors, coaches, and ideally sponsors. Can you share from your experiences, Neeraj, how they have helped you grow?
I've been very fortunate to have strong sponsors, mentors, and coaches. In fact, the example that I can think of is that I've had one person who has been sort of all three in one for me for many years. And it was actually a partner at A.T. Kearney that I had started working with. We were in different offices. We met on a project, and, we just hit it off. I think there was definitely chemistry, but there was also hard work. We shared the same work ethic. We shared the same passion in terms of how we wanted to deliver to the client. And so there was a lot of things that sort of meshed, which I think is also very important in any relationship, and especially in a networking relationship. And that relationship with this partner has lasted and has endured for many, many years for me. And I would say that this person actually ended up joining Wachovia Wells Fargo, the banking industry, and is the one who sort of introduced me to lots of different areas of the bank. And while he didn't recruit me directly, he just opened the door, right? He said he opened the door. He knew I was looking to change out of consulting. And, I had a young family, I had young kids. So very typically, as it happens in consulting, I wanted to get off the road and I wanted to sort of settle down a little bit. But I loved the consulting aspect. I love the strategy aspect. I love the ever-changing project aspect of the work. So I ended up being introduced to the head of strategy and initiatives at Wells Fargo, or at Wachovia at that time, only because of the relationship I had with this partner. And I, was able to join that team and have been very fortunate to have this person be my mentor. Now, he's recently left Wells Fargo, but for a good 13 years that we overlapped in Wells Fargo, he was wonderful, right? He was a very senior executive, had done lots of different things, was able to introduce me to a lot of different parts of the bank, was able to help me navigate difficult situations, was able to give me encouragement in many different areas. I think he also challenged me to think differently and to push the boundaries. So I think these are the key elements of what a mentor and a coach and a sponsor should give you. And I was very fortunate to have that and to take advantage of that, but then deliver on the ask that he was having for me.
Great story. And yes, Neeraj, I think you are fortunate because not everybody has that same support that you just talked about. And that is excellent. And one of the things that I liked is that you said that there was some initial chemistry. And I think this is essential for building this relationship. You cannot just call somebody and say, hey, you're more experienced than I am. Can I be your mentee? It doesn't work like that. I mean, there has to be some sort of mutual connection where you say, yeah, I am invested in this person's growth. Therefore, I'm going to invest the time, effort, and energy into helping this person grow. Don't just try to force it by, cold calling someone. Okay, Neeraj, so your network is there so you can also help others. Can you share an example of how you help someone else by letting them tap into your network?
I'm very fortunate to have benefited from a mentor and a sponsor, as you just heard, and many of them, actually. I mean, many of them. That was just one key one that I explained.
Yeah.
I've felt the responsibility to give back and to do the same for others. Where I work now, there is a very strong mentorship culture. And at any given time over the last, I would say, 10 years, I've had 2 to 5 mentees at any given time. And it's something that I really enjoy. I'm a mentor to a young lady who's in our corporate treasury department. And her aspiration is to broaden her skill set and do more, right? And, oftentimes you see, Alejandro, as I'm sure you have seen, people feel siloed. They feel they get stuck in a particular area. And it's hard to break from that. From that silo. And again, fortunate for me, I've had very broad ranging roles in the companies that I've worked in. I touch lots of different areas of the bank and as a result, know a lot of different areas of the bank and have connections in those areas. Yeah. And I want to use that to the benefit of younger coworkers. So her aspiration was to get to learn different parts of corporate finance, broadly speaking, not just in treasury. I was able to connect her to 6 different people within different aspects of finance, right? Whether it's corporate development, investor relations, financial planning and analysis, business finance. She had a keen interest to learn about how, what the day-to-day is in those areas. And she has had supremely fruitful discussions with all of them. And no, it's not about, her looking to change jobs immediately or asking for a favor to get on a new role, but it's really, and she's approached it in a wonderful way about just learning, about wanting to grow, about being intellectually curious. And I think when you approach it from that angle, again, she's being authentic, she's being genuine, she's really looking to grow as a professional. People are very willing to help, right? In fact, that's the best way to start a relationship without necessarily an ask, right? Then over time, now that she has 6 new people that she knows who are fairly senior in the bank, she can, figure out where her interest lies and how she wants to, interact with them. And ultimately, if appropriate, get a different role in one of these other areas.
Yeah. And doesn't it feel good when you do that? You can see your network, at work, helping, people. It feels good. I love that feeling.
It's a joy. It's a joy, Alejandro. It absolutely is the best part of being in a position where you can help others.
Build a network, but it's not just for you. It's so that you can also help others. Some friends in different parts of their career, have reached out to me trying to find new growth opportunities. And I have been able to connect them with people that I know that were trying to build their team and bring new talent. I feel good that I was able to help them. For those audience members who struggle a bit with building and nurturing a large set of diverse relationships, and I believe a large chunk will have some level of struggle, what would you recommend to become better at it?
It takes practice, it takes planning, and it's not easy, right? You're starting in an uncomfortable spot, I think. Look, like with many things, Alejandro, it's practice. It's doing it again and again and again. I mean, it's not rocket science. So I think the more you put yourself out there, the better and easier it becomes for you. Having said that, I think the tenets for me are still pretty simple, and it's things that I've said before. But before I go back into those, I think you have to think about this not as a transactional interchange. It's more of a relationship interchange. I think the minute you make it feel transactional, people are going to check out, right? You may get some success, but you'll be lucky. It's the exception, not the rule, if you make it feel transactional. So how do you make it relationship oriented? You have to be authentic, right? Know who you are, know what your boundaries are, and stay within them. Nobody's asking you to get out of your boundaries, right? Be genuine. Yeah. Be genuine. Be genuine about the curiosity that you present in the conversation. Be genuine about trying to learn about the other person and what they do. Have that curiosity be a genuine curiosity, and listen. Right? Don't just ask a question and then tune out, because that's also very apparent. So authenticity, genuineness, and preparedness. Right? Be prepared. Learn a little bit about the person you're going to talk to or the group that you're going to be interacting in. Know what their hot buttons are. Know what has perhaps kept them up at night, given the work situation. If you're in a work setting, know what are their hobbies, what their interests are, and then be open to share your perspective. Be open to share what you bring to the table, because as I said, everybody brings something to the table. Never underestimate that. There's no two ways around it. Practice makes perfect, and the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
That's great, Neeraj. And you're actually bringing a common theme of the 13 principles. Some of these might come naturally to you, and some of these will not. For those that are not coming naturally to you, you just need to put some conscious effort. You need to study what that principle really means. You need to practice. You need to just be more conscious about it. Now, let me ask you a little bit of a more tactical question. How do you maintain your network vibrant and healthy? What sort of actions do you take?
That is a great question, Alejandro. And it's not easy. I think you have to think about it a little bit. Given the day and age that we live in today, we have so many tools at our disposal that, Alejandro, when you and I were a little bit younger, we didn't have, right? So the effort required to build and maintain a network was X times harder and more. Today, because of technology and because of the social platforms like LinkedIn, it is so much easier in my mind.
Yeah.
And I like to keep things quite simple, right? And I think the way you approach in terms of developing and maintaining and nurturing your network, I think should follow maybe a differentiated approach based on the circle that you fall in. From a network perspective, I will quote something you have in your book about having your core network, having a close network, having a distant network, and having an inactive network. And I think the way you maintain that probably deserves a slightly different approach. And it's probably going from easier to harder as you get out, as you get into those distant circles. I don't want to talk about how do we want to approach each circle one at a time. But in general, I would say you should keep in touch with the people that are most relevant to you, right? Whether it's close or core or distant, you should know in your network who are the people that are most meaningful to you, either from just a personal relationship and friendship perspective, the chemistry that you have, from a career perspective, because they're more senior or have more experience in a particular field. Or I would say, for me, what I find very rewarding in this stage of my career is actually people outside of the field that I'm in. Right. Yeah. I know too many people in my field.
Yeah.
And for me to grow intellectually, I value diversity of thought and diversity of discussion and topics. So my network is actually now trying to broaden versus deepen in a particular industry. But going back to how do I tactically do that? I think if we look at LinkedIn, for example, and I'm a huge believer in LinkedIn, and that's been a great connector for us, Alejandro.
Yeah.
It is so easy to do, right? I mean, if you think about it, be active with your network, right? On LinkedIn, for example, congratulate people when they have achieved something, right? When they have a new job or have promoted or have changed, congratulate them.
It's an opportunity for you to say something and reconnect, right? So don't ignore it.
Don't ignore their updates, right? Engage in them in a conversation. Give your perspective or agree with them on something that they have said. It's so easy to do, Alejandro. It just takes a few seconds, right? Yeah. If you're following the people that really matter. So basically, try to engage in a meaningful dialogue with them over time.
Thank you, Neeraj. So to make this a two-way conversation, I'm going to let you ask me a question.
Thank you, Alejandro. The tables have turned. I would love to understand, and I'm sure some of our listeners would have a similar question, is when you approach a networking situation and a conversation with somebody, how open and honest should that person be in terms of the objective they feel they have in that interaction? So, for example, if I'm looking to change my career or if I'm looking for a new job opportunity, should I be very open and honest with the person who I'm getting to meet maybe for the first time or the second time? Or should I wait to develop a relationship before I open the gates in terms of my objective?
Ooh, that's a tough question, Neeraj. And I think perhaps, like many things in life, the answer is it depends, right? In general, there might be very valuable exceptions. I prefer to have a level of openness so that you are not trying to hide your intentions. You're saying, hey, Neeraj, I know that you're an executive at Wells Fargo. I currently work in a different company in the banking industry. We have this connection in common. And what I wanted to ask you is, do you have any advice for anybody that wants to join, the strategic initiatives team in Wells Fargo? I'm making this up. But I think that there is some value in being open, because then, the advice and the information that you're going to get is going to be very relevant. If I approach you under that situation where I'm looking, to join your team, but I start only talking to you about golf, I don't know if, that'll be a little bit too artificial and even fake, right? And by the time you start talking about a job, you're going to be like, oh, so this is why this guy is talking to me about golf and fishing for the past month and a half. You want to be open like in the first 2 minutes. At some point, maybe you finish off by saying, hey, listen, I'm really intrigued by what you do. I would love to hear more about what your team does, because I am open to new opportunities, and something, aligned with what you do is probably something that I'm looking for. So I would love to tap into your advice and knowledge, and leave it there, right? You're not asking for a job or an interview. You're just saying, hey, I would love to learn more about what you and your team do. What do you think, Neeraj?
I think that's very sound advice, Alejandro. And I think it goes back to the principle of being genuine and being authentic. So I completely admire and agree with what you have said. So I think that's wonderful. I think the messaging is very important, and absolutely being honest is probably the right way to go.
So Neeraj, each of our audience members is on their journey to success, trying to get to their champagne. What is the main thing you want our audience to remember when they think about why they should build their village?
I think for me, the big takeaway here is you've got to enjoy the process, right? Enjoy the journey. Don't be overly concerned about the destination. Be genuine about who you're talking to. You're talking to another person who has experiences, who has wealth of information that he or she may want to share with you. Be genuinely interested in that. So enjoy the process and be authentic and genuine to yourself. Invest your time in the process. Don't be too concerned about the results.
Neeraj Khanna, thank you so much for joining me today in exploring this powerful principle. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you, Alejandro. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And if you guys want to reach Neeraj, you can do it via LinkedIn. Remember, everybody, you can and must take action to start unlocking the power of this principle in your life. It is a critical component of your journey. To be effective in your current role and in your career, not only do you need power and influence, as explained in the previous episode, you need to have the right relationships. It is critical to cultivate authentic and long-term relationships. No doubt it will help you in your career and life. But do not form them simply to take advantage of people's privileged positions. You also have the obligation to help others. Let's meet again in episode 12, where we will explore how to grab the wheel and be in control of your drive, because you can't be in the backseat letting others drive you. I have 2 successful entrepreneur guests joining us. Thank you for joining me in this episode. I hope you are inspired by this principle. So cheers to your success on your road to champagne. Please don't forget to visit roadtochampagne.com and join our mailing list to download the framework we are using. If you like this episode, please share it with your friends, colleagues, and classmates. Send your comments via the website's contact page and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow Road to Champagne on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn.